My friends, let's talk about something that lives in the shadows of many relationships, yet quietly shapes the way we see ourselves and others: jealousy. Jealousy is often silent, often hidden, and almost always masked as something else. Few people will stand up and say, "Yes, I'm jealous of you." Instead, it slips out in behaviors, in attitudes, in words left unsaid, or in words said with just the wrong kind of edge. And here's the truth. Jealousy is not just about envy of what someone has. It's about fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of being less than. Fear of not being enough. That's why it's so important to recognize the hidden behaviors of jealousy, not so you can point fingers, but so you can protect your heart, your peace, and your path. One of the most common masks jealousy wears is the backhanded compliment. It looks like kindness on the surface, but when you listen closely, you can hear the sting underneath. A backhanded compliment is not really a celebration of you. It's a subtle way of cutting you down while pretending to lift you up. It sounds like this: "Wow, I didn't think you of all people could pull that off. You're doing great, but honestly, I'm shocked it's working for you. That's impressive, though anyone could do it if they had the kind of help you have." Notice how the words might look like encouragement, but they carry a twist. It's almost like they're saying, "Good for you, but don't forget you're not really that special." Why does jealousy show up this way? Because it's safer. A jealous person doesn't want to openly admit they feel threatened or insecure. Instead, they try to slip doubt into your heart while disguising it as humor or even as a compliment. It's their way of protecting their own ego without looking cruel. And if we're honest, these comments don't just pass over us like water, they sting. Because part of us hears the compliment, but another part of us gets tangled in the little seed of criticism it carries. That seed makes you question yourself. Am I really worthy of this? Did I just get lucky? Am I not as capable as I thought? But here's the truth. Those words say far more about the person giving them than they do about you. A backhanded compliment is a mirror of insecurity. It reveals that someone is struggling to hold their own sense of worth in the presence of your growth. And here's the key. You are not required to shrink so someone else can feel bigger. You are not required to dim your joy to protect another's ego. You can receive the compliment and let go of the poison it carries. You can smile, stay gracious, but also stay grounded in the reality that your achievements are valid, your effort is real, and your success doesn't need anyone's approval to be authentic. When you learn to recognize backhanded compliments for what they are, you stop taking them personally. Instead of wounding you, they become evidence that your growth is shining so brightly, it's making others uncomfortable, and that's not your problem to solve. Another hidden behavior of jealousy is the constant need to compete with you, even when you never asked for a competition in the first place. This kind of competition is not playful, not encouraging, and certainly not healthy. It's subtle. It hides in conversations, in comparisons, and in the way someone always has to one-up whatever you share. Here's how it shows up. You tell them you've started exercising 3 times a week, and they immediately say, "Oh, I've been working out 6 times a week for months now." You mention a promotion at work, and they quickly respond, "That's great, but I just got a raise too." You share a personal milestone you're proud of, and instead of celebrating with you, they start listing their own achievements, like it's a scoreboard. The truth is, you didn't step into the conversation to compete, like you were just sharing your joy, but jealousy turns your success into a measuring stick for someone else's insecurities. And because they feel less than in your presence, they try to level the playing field by shifting the focus back to themselves. What makes this behavior so draining is that it steals the spirit of connection. True connection is built on, I see you, I celebrate you, and I'm with you. But subtle competition replaces that with, I hear you, but let me prove I'm just as good or better. Instead of feeling lifted, you walk away feeling unseen. Now, here's the deeper layer. This kind of competition doesn't come from malice, it comes from fear. People who live in constant comparison feel unsafe in their own worth. They're terrified that your success somehow diminishes theirs, as if life were a zero-sum game where only one person gets to shine. But here's what they don't understand. Your success does not threaten their significance. There is enough room in this world for all of us to rise. The table of opportunity is not limited to one seat, but jealousy blinds them to that truth, and so they compete instead of connect. For you, the challenge is not to take the bait. Don't allow someone else's quiet competition to pull you into proving yourself. You don't need to race in lanes you never signed up for. You can simply smile, acknowledge their comment, and stay grounded in your own journey. Because here's the powerful truth. When someone constantly competes with you, it's not a reflection of your worth. It's a reflection of their insecurity. And instead of shrinking or defending yourself, you get to stand tall in the confidence that you are not here to outshine anyone. You are here to live fully, authentically, and unapologetically as yourself. One of the most telling signs of jealous is when someone refuses to acknowledge the work behind your success. They want the outcome to look effortless, because if it looks too real, too hard, too earned, then they would have to face the truth about what's possible for them too. So what do? They dismiss your struggles. They make it sound like your achievement just fell into your lap. You'll hear things like, well, you've always had it easy. It's not that big of a deal. Anyone could have done it. You were lucky. Things just happened to work out for you. At first, it might feel like just casual words, but underneath, it's something deeper. It's an attempt to strip away the blood, sweat, and tears you've poured into your journey. Because if they acknowledge your struggles, they would have to face the fact that you pushed through things they avoided, that you fought battles they weren't willing to fight, that you kept showing up on days they would have given up. Here's the real danger. When someone dismisses your struggles long enough, you might start to believe them. You might begin to question your own hard work, telling yourself, maybe it wasn't that difficult. Maybe I did just get lucky. But don't let that lie take root. Your journey deserves respect. Your pain deserves recognition. Every sleepless night, every risk, every sacrifice, those are the bricks that built the life you're living now. And here's something important. People dismiss your struggles because it comforts them. If they convince themselves that your success came easily, then they don't have to deal with their own excuses. They don't have to face the uncomfortable truth that they could be further along if they had shown the same persistence. So in a way, minimizing your struggles is a shield they use to protect themselves from self-reflection. But let me remind you, your resilience is not invisible. Even if others downplay it, the evidence of your struggle is written in the strength of your character, in the lessons you've learned, and in the quiet confidence you carry today. So when someone dismisses your struggles, don't argue, don't defend, and don't waste your breath trying to make them see. Because your journey doesn't need validation from anyone else. You know the nights you cried. You know the times you almost gave up. You know the sacrifices no one else saw. And that is enough. The truth is, when someone dismisses your struggles, it doesn't reveal the ease of your journey. It reveals the weight of their jealousy. And the best response is not to shrink, not to fight, but to keep walking forward, honoring the road you've traveled, and refusing to let anyone reduce it to luck. One of the quietest yet clearest signs of jealousy is the absence of support when you need it most. Not outright criticism, not loud negativity, but silence, the kind of silence that speaks louder than words. Here's how it looks. When you share good news, they don't clap. When you reach a milestone, they don't acknowledge it. When others congratulate you, they slip into the background, unwilling to add their voice. At first, you might brush it off, telling yourself maybe they're just busy, maybe they didn't notice. But over time, the pattern becomes undeniable. They are choosing not to celebrate you. Why? because celebrating you would mean admitting your progress, acknowledging your growth, and giving voice to your success. And for someone wrestling with jealousy, that feels like giving up ground. They fear that by lifting you up, they make themselves look smaller. But here's the irony. Real strength is never diminished by celebrating someone else. Applauding another person's victory doesn't make your own path less valuable. It makes you secure enough to see that there's room for all of us. Withholding support, then, is not a reflection of your worth, but of their insecurity. The most painful part of this hidden behavior is when it comes from people you expected to stand with you, and friends, family, colleagues. You thought they'd be the first to cheer, but instead they go quiet. That silence can feel like betrayal, and if you're not careful, it can trick you into believing that your success is less meaningful without their validation. But let's pause here for a truth check. Your success does not require anyone's applause to be real. Your growth is not made smaller because someone else refuses to see it. And just because someone is silent doesn't mean the heavens are silent. Your progress still matters. Your steps still count. Here's the deeper layer. Withholding support is also a form of control. By not affirming you, they hope to plant doubt in your heart. They want you to question yourself, to wonder if you're truly as capable as you thought. Because if you start doubting, you're less likely to keep moving forward with boldness. And that, in a way, gives them comfort and it levels the ground again. But the truth is, your light doesn't need their confirmation. Think of the sun. It rises every morning, whether anyone claps or not. It shines not because it's approved, but because shining is what it was made to do. The same is true for you. You don't need a crowd to validate your purpose. You just need the courage to keep going, even when the room goes quiet. So when you notice people withholding their support, don't beg for their validation and don't punish yourself with self-doubt. Instead, recognize it for what it is, a hidden sign of jealousy. And then remind yourself that you were never meant to be fueled by their applause in the first place. Your source of strength runs deeper, truer, and stronger than that. One of the clearest signs of hidden jealousy is how quickly some people bring up your failures, flaws, or past mistakes the moment you step into something new. Instead of celebrating your growth, they anchor you to your lowest moments, as if that's all you'll ever be. It usually sounds like this. Remember the time you tried that before and it didn't work out? You're acting confident now, but don't forget when you messed up last year. Be careful. You know you have a history of failing at this. On the surface, it can look like concern, like they're just being realistic or keeping you humble. But let's be honest, it's not about keeping you grounded, it's about keeping you small. Highlighting your mistakes is their way of dragging you back down to the version of yourself that feels less threatening to them. And here's the deeper truth. Jealous people don't want to see your progress, because progress means you're growing, evolving, and proving that failure didn't stop you. It means you're becoming harder to dismiss, and that makes them uncomfortable. But notice what they never highlight: the lessons you learned, the resilience you built, the courage it took to get back up. Why? Because to acknowledge those things would mean admitting that your mistakes didn't break you. They say, they built you. And that truth would dismantle their entire narrative. What's even more harmful is how these reminders can seep into your own self-talk. If you're not careful, their voice becomes your inner voice. Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not ready. Maybe I am the person who always fails. That's exactly what jealousy hopes for, that you'll second-guess yourself enough to hold back. But here's the reality. Your mistakes are not chains meant to hold you back. They're stepping stones that carried you here. Every error, every misstep, every so-called failure has been part of you, our refining process. And those who highlight your mistakes are actually revealing more about their fear than about your history. Because the truth is, your ability to rise after falling is what makes you powerful. Let me remind you, there is no success story without chapters of struggle. The people who try to shame you with your mistakes are the same people who secretly envy the courage it took for you to keep moving forward. They see your scars, and instead of admiring your survival, they weaponize them to keep you from shining. So when someone tries to define you by your mistakes, don't fight back in anger. Don't waste time trying to rewrite their opinion. Instead, stand tall in the truth that your mistakes are not your identity. They are your evidence. Evidence that you didn't quit. Evidence that you grew stronger. Evidence that you are still here, still rising, and still moving forward. Because in the end, the people who highlight your mistakes are only proving one thing. They are more focused on your past than on their own potential. And that, my friend, is not your burden to carry. Perhaps the most dangerous and often the most painful hidden behavior of jealousy is quiet sabotage. Unlike open criticism, sabotage doesn't announce itself. It moves silently, disguising itself as help, as concern, or as forgetfulness. But make no mistake, it's intentional, and its purpose is to slow you down. Quiet sabotage might look like this: a colleague who accidentally leaves out a critical piece of information that would have helped you succeed. A friend who discourages you from pursuing an opportunity by saying things like, "Are you sure you're ready for that? It seems too risky." Someone who gives you poor advice, not because they didn't know better, but because they hoped it would trip you up. Or even small acts like failing to pass along your name for a project or conveniently forgetting to tell you about a meeting or event that could benefit you. What makes this so destructive is that it rarely looks like sabotage on the surface. It often feels like oversight or just being honest, but deep down it comes from one source: the discomfort your growth stirs in them. Instead of cheering for you, they quietly place obstacles in your path, not enough to expose themselves as an enemy, but just enough to make your journey harder. Why does jealousy show up this way? Because open attacks would reveal too much. Quiet sabotage allows a jealous person to maintain the image of loyalty, even friendship, while secretly acting against you. They want the benefit of appearing supportive without the inner work of truly celebrating your success. The real danger of sabotage is not just the external impact, the missed opportunities, the delays, the confusion. It's the internal impact. When someone you trust quietly undermines you, it plants doubt. Did I mishear? Am I imagining things? Maybe I'm just being paranoid. That self-doubt is the very weapon sabotage is meant to create. It keeps you second-guessing yourself so you won't run as boldly toward your vision. But here's the truth: sabotage, no matter how subtle, cannot erase what you're meant to become. Yes, it may slow you down. Yes, it may test your resilience, but it cannot cancel your destiny. In fact, many times, sabotage becomes the very pressure that forces you to sharpen your discernment, tighten your circle, and grow wiser about who you allow close. The important thing is this: don't ignore the patterns. If someone consistently forgets, consistently misguides, or consistently undermines, it's not coincidence, like it's a sign. And when you see it, don't waste your energy on revenge or trying to change the message. Instead, set boundaries, protect your vision, keep your plans close until they are too solid to be undone. Remember, your purpose is too precious to be left vulnerable to quiet sabotage. And here's the most freeing truth of all: no act of sabotage, no matter how calculated, has the power to stop what is truly yours. They might delay you, but they cannot deny you, because the hand that holds your future is greater than the hand that tries to sabotage it. Jealousy is one of those hidden forces that shapes human relationships in ways we often don't talk about. It rarely shouts, it whispers. It doesn't always arrive in obvious attacks, More often, it shows up in subtle behaviors: the backhanded compliment, the quiet competition, the dismissal of your struggles, the silence when you should be celebrated, the constant reminder of your past mistakes, and even the quiet sabotage that hides behind a smile. Each of these behaviors tells a story, not about you, but about the other person, a story of insecurity, of fear, of not feeling enough. And while that may help us understand where jealousy comes from, it doesn't make it any less harmful. Being on the receiving end can leave you doubting yourself, questioning your worth, and even shrinking your light so others can feel comfortable. But here's the truth I want you to walk away with. You don't have to shrink. You don't have to hide. You don't have to explain away your growth just to make someone else feel safe in your presence. Your success, your progress, your resilience, they are evidence of your courage. They are proof of the battles you've fought and the struggles you've survived. So when jealousy shows up in these hidden ways, don't internalize it. Recognize it for what it is, a mirror reflecting someone else's battle, not your own. Stand firm in your path. Protect your peace. Keep shining, not because it's easy, but because it's who you are. At the end of the day, the greatest response to jealousy is not bitterness or revenge. It is consistency. Keep showing up, keep growing, keep becoming. Because no amount of hidden jealousy can stop a destiny that was never dependent on their approval in the first place.